Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Hey, my team and I are offering a 3-day intensive retreat in San Diego, California. This retreat is going to be so powerful and transformative. My team and I will show you how to discover yourself, your true potential, and help you find your path and purpose in life and uncover the warrior's courage that is within you. I literally put my heart and soul into this program, and the reason why you want this is because I will save you time and money from having to figure out all of this on your own. There are only 10 spots available for the retreat, so go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and apply for the program. Again, that's kfmretreat.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Jimmy Tomczak. He's the founder of multiple companies, author, and has been selected to appear on ABC's hit show Shark Tank, and he's even been featured on the Wall Street Journal, Entrepreneur Magazine, and CNN. All right, guys, here with Jimmy. How you doing today?
Hey, sir. What's going on?
Doing good. So, Jimmy, as you know, you said you were listening to a few episodes earlier. We start off every show with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that the guest has lived by. So, share with us what you got.
I've got one just for you. I'm going to pull it from my book. We have to be willing to get happy about nothing. Andy Warhol. We have to be willing to get happy about nothing.
All right, you got some explaining to do. What's that mean to you?
Well, you know, my book is about life's ups and downs because I've traveled the world, I've done all this crazy awesome stuff, but you can't keep that level of high all the time. So when you have your down days, you have to be able to fully embrace that too, so that you can be happy about nothing.
So you're telling me you're happy about nothing. How does that work? I'm liking the idea. You know, I'm not going against you here, but how does this work? Like, what does that look like? And just to give the audience a better idea of what that is.
Sure. Well, I'm sure people listening have traveled.
Yeah.
Why do you travel?
Yeah.
To see things, to connect with people, to see a new place, to take a picture. I mean, now you can just get online and it's all there anyway. And the bottom line is that you're always going to be there with yourself. You can't escape it. So if you're not happy inside with who you are, that's what you need to fix, not something else you can buy, something shinier, somewhere better to go. It's so great that we've been able to kind of let go of just consuming so much as far as things, but now we've sometimes switched to consuming experiences. And that's great, because an experience is far, far more valuable. But that doesn't mean you have to one up the next guy. Like, oh, I've been here. You've been to 20 countries? Oh, yeah. Well, I've been to 30 countries, and I run a safari company. But no, I mean, yeah. These are my friends, and I love them, and it's amazing. And we don't do that, and that's the difference.
Yeah, I'm starting to see where this goes. I think you're so right when it comes down to consuming. Is it a car? Is it a house? Is it going to Vegas? Is it doing this and that? And then you talk about experiences, or it could be like some festival, some concert. It could be like Coachella. It could be like EDC. There's just all these experiences. It could be going to the Mediterranean on Yacht Week and just constantly in the pursuit of new experiences. But going back to your quote by Andy Warhol, it's like, be happy with you first.
Exactly. And if you can't do that, I mean, that's where you got to start. I've been to half of those places that you've mentioned. I'm literally getting on a plane tomorrow morning and leaving to Burning Man. I'll be there for the third time. And I actually didn't go last year. And this year's was a kind of a last minute thing. But so I had to kind of reframe why I'm there. Like, well, what am I going for? Because I'm not going to consume. I want to contribute. And for me, it's going to be a nice little break to kind of get some clarity and really just, meditate, connect, see a bunch of people. It's the coolest thing to go to a spot and all the people that you know from all over the world are actually there in that same spot, and they don't have any internet, they don't have any cell phone, they don't have any distractions, and all they want to do is have a good time and connect.
Yeah.
And that connection, that fact that people matter most, that's what life's about.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, this is good. This is a good start here. Let's dive in. Jimmy, how'd you get started with what you do? You founded multiple companies here. I see you got an upcoming Kickstarter campaign for a new book, which, I'm really interested in. And, you got quite a show list here. So, yeah, share with us how you got started with what you do. What got you down this path?
I feel like I bleed entrepreneurship. I mean, ever since high school, I was hustling with my lawn company. When other people were getting summer jobs and things like that, it's like, why would you work at McDonald's or anywhere else when I could just go out and do something entrepreneurial myself? I saw my neighbor's lawn, 2 feet high, and I borrowed my grandpa's lawnmower, and I'm like, hey, I'll give you $20 and I'll take care of that for you. And they're like, okay. And, a couple of years later and many thousands of dollars later with many, many, many more clients, I learned what it's like to work for yourself, to make money, and what the value of a dollar means. When you can cut a lawn in 20 minutes and make $20, that's as a 15, 16-year-old, that's a pretty good benchmark for like, okay, this is what it means to produce. While I was doing that, some of my clients, customers, I said, hey, like, how else can I serve them? And I started, at the time, it was a hobby to like sell stuff on eBay. And so when I offered that to like my lawn customers, because they already knew me, we already had that relationship, it led to like selling some of their stuff. That's when those eBay stores were popular. I became a power seller and started doing that. That kind of took me into college, where I started doing it on my own and learned that whole buy low, sell high, get paid mindset of hustling. And, I do something as crazy as, buying a pair of pants or something at the thrift store for $5 and selling it to some guy in Australia for 110. That's entrepreneurship. That's what they don't teach you in business school or whatever. I can say that I went to the University of Michigan and studied neuroscience, and I also did the program in entrepreneurship. And it's kind of interesting, or at least funny, to hear people coming out of that program now, because that was like the first or second year that they offered it, or going into it, they're like, yeah, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh, that's great. What do you do, or what is your entrepreneur thing? Because it's not something that you teach or read or whatever. It's what you did. And I just kept doing more. Yeah. Make sense so far?
Yeah, making sense. So I appreciate the hustle. Whenever I see anyone hustling, I'm like, good. Like, that's the hustle is going to help you in whatever you want to do. If someone's got the hustle, they're going to out hustle the person next to him. But would you say that is entrepreneurship, or is that just hustling? Is that having a business, small business?
And thanks for guiding the conversation perfectly, because it was at that point, right? It's like second semester of senior year of college, and I'm like applying to med school. I just bought my first house. I'm hustling to death here, and I'm like, well, what's next? And that was at the point where I'm like, I want to actually create like a real company, something that serves not just like, how do I make my next dollar or more? Because the reason, like, where I got that from was because, like, my family never had money. There was never anything there. I had to find a way. Like, if I wanted something, I had to go out and do it or get it or figure out a way, because even the basics, weren't always there. And that's hard. And like, so you do what it takes. You have your values and morals and that. But I'm like, okay, let's do this bigger. And so my next project was, I've always been like an outdoor lake, parks, adventure kind of dude.
Yeah.
This was at the time when barefooting and like Vibram's 5 fingers became really popular. Follow me?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, those would be great. I could see myself using those, paddleboarding and doing all this other crazy stuff. Well, why don't I make my own? I mean, I've never even spent $100 on a pair of shoes. Why would I spend $100 on non-shoes? And so I'm like, okay, I'll make my own. So I actually took some of the Tyvek envelopes that I had from shipping all that stuff on eBay and like cut up a pair of these like super paper thin shoes and like put them on my feet, and it totally didn't work. They got wet, and it like
I was gonna say, like, if you're like, oh, it worked, I was like, what the hell?
No
Okay,
way. And that's
right.
I mean, that's the core of entrepreneurship, right? Failure. So that was like my first prototype, or whatever you want to call it. Fail
Right.
faster. And so my next thing was like, well, how else can I do that? I kind of set it aside, because remember, this is the same guy. For me, it was like parallel entrepreneurship. You hear serial entrepreneurs doing one thing, and then means doing the next thing. I've always done like 5 things at once. And just now, with refocusing on the book and putting that out there, is when I've gotten a little bit more focused on like, okay, less is more. And we'll get to that. But back to the shoe thing. When I bought this house, it had like a leaky roof, and I had no money to fix it. And I'm like, well, I could put a tarp up there, but if you've ever seen those like blue poly tarps, they don't last. So one of the contractors was like, well, why don't you get billboard vinyl? And I'm like, billboard vinyl? What's that? And he's like, well, the signs when you see them driving down the road, those are like super thick plastic, PVC. It's waterproof, UV resistant, durable. When they take it down, it just ends up in a landfill. So I cold called a bunch of these companies and got this giant tarp that kept my roof dry that winter. And then the next summer, I actually used that same material to revisit the shoe concept, and actually went down the road of like patenting it and doing like an all-out company second semester of senior year, to really get in that entrepreneurial space of like business plan competitions and creating a team and doing all this other kind of stuff to connect social entrepreneurship, and started meeting people. And that's when like it became not just hustling, but like, hey, let's build a business that not only helps the environment. Like I said, those just end up in a landfill anyway, enough thrown away every year to like more than cover the state of Massachusetts, but to just, put that out there and serve in that way.
And so does this lead to Shark Tank?
So this leads to Shark Tank, from Jimmy sitting there in his mom's living room trying to figure out how to use a sewing machine, and like, convincing friends to help him out with this and stick Velcro on. And I mean, it was pure hustling, even as it transitioned into entrepreneurship and all this other kind of stuff. But bottom line, I ended up selling pairs around the world, even as like an imperfect version of it. And took it from crazy idea to getting some media attention, Entrepreneur Magazine, and actually after applying for Shark Tank and some of that other stuff, and not hearing back, the producer of the show actually read the Entrepreneur Magazine article and contacted me. So it's like,
That's awesome.
If it's meant to work out, it's meant to work out, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and so as of now, that show has yet to appear, right? And so we're probably not allowed to talk about those details.
Right. And so this was actually a couple of years ago, which is interesting. I'm building. Do you feel like the energy just kind of, keep on going? Because I'm going to do that and keep pushing forward. Check this out. Legally, I can say I was selected to appear and the episode was taped, right? Sounds like you've done this before. You talk to other people. I can't say anything. But that was Shark Tank season 3. I don't even know what season they're on now. I never even watched the show. I'm just like, this would be a cool idea to get the word out there. Because let's be honest, like, none of this stuff is really real. I mean, it's reality TV, okay? So, like, the long story short, you can Google my name, Jimmy Tomczak, and Shark Tank, and you can see the outcome of the show. You can see some Getty images and things that are out there because it's public knowledge. It's there, but the episode never aired, and I don't actually have that company anymore. As of this year, I shut that down, and it's no more. Paperfeed is no more. The company behind it was no more. I had failed, or more specifically, I chose to fail. I chose to let go of that and some of the other things that were kind of dead weight at that point, some other projects that I had bubbling.
Why?
To really focus on one thing.
Yeah, why? Okay, to focus on one thing. Oh, that's okay. And how does that feel like you spent, you put your heart and soul into something, and there's this like moment where some people feel, and I also encourage it in many cases, that like, hey, it's not working out exactly as planned. What do I do? And it sounds like you experienced that situation. Do I keep pushing forward? Do I keep climbing the mountain? Or do I turn and do something else? What was that experience like? I think a lot of listeners are in that position where they're working and grinding on something and they're seeing little bits of success, but they're not yet hitting that goal. And maybe there are some other opportunities that they would like to go into.
Well, that's a great question, because I've like just fallen flat on my face so many times that I stopped counting. I mean, you hear people working like their 80-hour a week and doing a startup and all this other stuff. I never even counted my hours because it'd be absurd. I was always working, and actually to the point where I wouldn't say it became a problem, but it was like, I'm like, wait, what is this for?
Yeah.
To answer your question fully, it was like, I had been to these business plan competitions. I had, placed in the finalist and then like not won. And then, there was this product launch. Like I actually had a Kickstarter for that. Completely failed. I wanted to raise like $14,590. That was a little shout out to Andy Warhol. I never, it's funny how all these things connect. I mean, Andy with his the 1459. That's like your 15 minutes of fame, right? Because what was I trying to do? I wanted to be like rich, famous, and successful. And I saw intersecting things that other people didn't see, right? I saw barefooting and like minimalist footwear was this movement. I saw this eco, green, recycle, upcycle movement happening. I saw social entrepreneurship happening, B Corps, everybody starting this kind of stuff. I saw all these coming together, and I'm like, I'm going to be there. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to create the next fad footwear, because you have Toms, you have Crocs, you have Uggs. All these things came from some obscure idea that some guy had or girl, or pick your favorite footwear company or some fashion thing that's successful for no other reason than like these guys were relentless with it. And I'm like, I can do that too. And that is pure entrepreneurship. That is not hustling. That is building something. But it was at that point that I was on Shark Tank, and I had done all this work and thousands of dollars in time and energy spent to like, man, this is the pinnacle of my success, to like, whoa, like for whatever reason, people believe it when it's on TV.
Right.
And then to find out like, oh, well, actually, no, it might not air. But you can't tell anybody that because, we're legally obligated. All you can say is that I was selected to appear in tape. Well, I'm like, okay, do I keep on keeping on? Well, I kind of did. I did a little bit of a pivot, and I did one of the things that I said I'd never do. This is going back to one of the very first things we talked about, right? Consumption versus production. People are like, why don't you make beach bags out of this stuff? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do that. But then I didn't want to do it because what does a bag encourage you to do? Just carry around more stuff that you probably don't need. And it wasn't with the brand of the company. I didn't really care about shoes. These shoes, they're so thin, they wear out. And you have to throw them away after, a year or so anyway. So like all I wanted people to do was to get outside and live and fully step into that. And so the bags failed too after partnering with this famous designer and being at the foremost design show in America, Dwell on Design, and featuring it there and selling some bags. That didn't work out either. I'm like, okay, I need to rein things back in and figure out what this is all about. And that's what I've made my last couple of years about.
You said get outside and live.
Yes.
Get outside and live. And so what does that bring someone when they get outside and live? How does that add value into someone's life?
Well, do you meditate? How do you connect with a deeper sense of either yourself or something, some higher power, some spirituality, however you want to refer to that?
Journaling, meditation.
Perfect. And those were things that I began to do. So when you're in Michigan, when you're in some obscure small town in Michigan that nobody knows about, and nobody, Detroit wasn't being hyped yet, and Ann Arbor's a college town, and all these things are amazing, but like nobody wanted to believe in this West Coast beach thing from Michigan. So the first company to believe in me, like long before Shark Tank, was a nonprofit social innovation incubator out of San Francisco. And their ethos was like, we don't need boardrooms and keynote speeches. We just need to connect with people and be real. And so the summit of that, when I won that competition, they had a summit where like about 100 people came in to this conference called Dangerously Ambitious, because there's all these ambitious 20-somethings that had started eco-friendly or social entrepreneurial businesses and met up with like investors and all these other people. But instead of being in like a conference room or something else like that, we went skydiving together and wine hikes and like paddleboarding over the course of a weekend. And that's that get outside and live thing. It can be loud where you're jumping out of a plane with somebody, or it can be quiet where you're sitting waterside with your feet in the sand and just listening to the waves, to the water, and just being there, or journaling, or doing nothing. And like that quietness is just as powerful as like the most amazing experience at Burning Man or jumping out of a plane or whatever it would be.
Yeah, this, just listening to you talk right here reminds me of like one of my favorite movies, Into the Wild. Have you seen it?
Absolutely. Good movie.
I was gonna say, man, it's up your alley. You're basically him. Yeah, good stuff there. For all the listeners, if you haven't seen it, just check it out go Google, go on Amazon, whatever. Into the Wild, really good movie about just getting out into life. Talk to us about this book, like this book launch you're doing. Like, what's this book about, and where are you trying to take this? What does this look like for you? This project, this movement that you're creating.
Exactly. So, as I was doing all these different things, whether they were conferences or design things or whatever, I just wanted to connect with the most amazing people in the most amazing places, and I made that my thing. And so it began as like, okay, I've got to go out to this conference for Paper Feed and share this or present here or speak there. But then when I realized how much joy that brought me and how cool that was to be with the best and brightest wherever they were and learn what they were doing, learn how I could help, learn how I could point them in the right direction. And even in doing that, you begin to receive some of that yourself. And so I made that like, how can I do more of that? And so as I was going to these different places, I'd journal, and I'd, write down what I saw and what I felt, what I thought, anything that was on my mind. And like the best of that became a blog that I began to share those things with the world. It was scary, thrilling, but like the things that I wouldn't say to anyone, I just put it up online. And that eventually became the beginnings of what is this book called Lakeside and Tide, because it's about those ups and downs, that flow, that ebb, the things that you see and feel. Because what I wrote wasn't always just like Jimmy, business engineering, whatever, like sciencey. I mean, yes, that's how I think. I probably think way too much sometime, but I learned to quiet things down, and writing would slow that down for me. So a lot of these things that I would write would be kind of lyrical or poetry, verse type stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, your average entrepreneur, whoever, might not read that. But when you combine it with like personal stories about how you went to Burning Man and, did these crazy things, and then how you started your business, but it failed. So the book is meant to take you. So you're going from thinking then to feeling, because you're reading something. And then it'll like say like, but hey, you could try this, with like a little takeaway to kind of dare you to do. And that is what is important, because this whole thing about inspiration, Jimmy inspires or anything else, that doesn't matter, because what is inspiration? Inspiration is what you get after doing something, and that something can be anything. But the key thing is that you have to do it.
Absolutely. And what I'm getting from you is you're writing very authentically, you're being very vulnerable with your words and really sharing with people what's going on in your world. Now, I admire that. It's a fantastic skill. How do you handle the opinions of other people when you're publishing such vulnerable content?
Oh man, that's why the book's not out yet. That's why I've spent 5 years instead of what should have been. Because it depends on when exactly you want to start, because some of the early content. But I mean, this was last year when I'm like, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to for sure get this done. And I was sitting there, I'm like, right around New Year's, kind of doing my year in review stuff and writing out everything that I failed at and everything that like I succeeded at and everything that like I never am going to do again and what I am going to do. And I said, okay, this 2015 thing that's happening, that's going to be the year that I'm going to write this book, like fully, and finish it. And February 6th, 2015, I had my manuscript finally done to a point where I could print it off. And the only reason that I got to that date was because I was hosting an event called Ember, which was about connecting people and sharing words of love. And so nobody knew about that at the point, because this is like one of the other side things that I've done. Living out by the lake here, I'd always have people over for bonfires and different beach parties and boats and different, anything like that just gets people connected. And this was very informal with like very close friends. But then when I realized how much people got out of that and how cool it was to just be in that kind of a setting, I'm like, I'm going to start doing more of that. And so that was actually the first event that I charged for tickets to. Did it at the Sky Bar Lounge thing in Ann Arbor. and dared people to kind of bring something that they'd written or a favorite book or whatever it was. And this thing grew. I sold out of tickets in the first day. So I'm like, okay, how many more people can I get to this? And it ended up being about 50 people there. We did anything from poetry readings to live music. One of my friends that does like video visualizations things, he had presented that at Burning Man, was there. My friend who was a DJ that was there. So like all these collaborations that kind of spiral together. To top it off, I said, the main reason I did this because I wanted an external goal that held me accountable. I have 50 people coming over. I'm supposed to be sharing this thing that I've written. So here it is. And, that's super helpful.
Yeah. One way to light a fire under your ass, that's for sure. So this whole thing you got going on is like about embracing life's ups and downs. And so, I'll throw out a scenario. I recently just wrote a book about breakups. It's called The Breakup Manual for Men, doing really well on Amazon. It's great. And we'll just use this as an example. It's definitely a down for many men. And ever since I wrote the book, I've been getting a lot of people emailing me and reaching out to me about that topic. So I'm assuming that some of those guys are listening right now. Embracing life's ups and downs. What advice would you give to someone who just went through a serious loss, a breakup?
Well, when that happened to me, one of my friends who's a PhD psychologist and coach and just one of my best friends, he said, hey, you got to check out this book. It's called Grieving Mindfully. Grieving Mindfully was the book. And I don't know how helpful the book was. I was kind of all over the place. But, I mean, the thing is you got to give yourself space to fully feel into that, to grieve. Because if you just go to some rebound or just go here or do that or distract yourself with 100 other things, trust me, been there, done that. But it's going to come back. Any lesson in life, if you didn't master it, you're going to get it again. And this is speaking from experience. One of the last questions you asked about like releasing a book and being really vulnerable about that kind of stuff that I'm putting out there, that is really scary. Because unlike a startup or a sandal or this other thing that you can kind of put a version or software startup app, you can put out, a version 1.0 and it's okay because, your version 1.2 and your version 2.0, you can just push that out there, as it happens. With a book, you can't be like, yo, give me that back. I'm going to, there's a typo there. Man, I wish I didn't say that. Once you did it, it's done and it's out there and it's in the world. And so it levels up an entire, to the next level at that point. And so for someone going through something painful or anything like that, find a release if you need one. If it's so overwhelming that you can't sit there and just be, you're going to have to do something. And so why not have it be something productive instead of all the things that have caused all the pain that occurs in society as we know it? We're getting a lot better at that because people like you and I are writing books and because people like your listeners are inspired to do something now. And so just kind of lean into that. Use productive time, get a hobby. It doesn't matter if it's working out or whatever. One of my favorite blog posts of all time is by Scott Dinsmore, and it's called Richard Branson on working out. If you just Google Richard Branson working out, that's one of the people who inspires me. I mean, anyone can inspire, but the fact is if you wake up and work out and shower and start the day with the most important thing that needs to be done, I guarantee your day is going to be 100 times better than if you don't do any of those things.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I want to now dive into the knowledge round, Jimmy. So I'm just going to ask you some rapid fire questions here. So are you ready for the knowledge round, Jimmy?
Ready to go.
Hey, I want to share with you more about the Knowledge for Men 3-day intensive retreat. I will show you how to discover yourself so you'll know exactly who you are, what you want, and have the conviction on how to get there. You can become a leader so you can achieve greatness in all aspects of your life and become the man you want to be. It is all lying within us dormant until the right teacher helps us tap into our inner warrior. You will be tested, challenged, and pushed beyond your limits, and together we will push the boundaries of what is really possible in your life. So go to kfmretreat.com to apply because there are only 10 spots for the retreat and there are thousands of people listening to this right now. When the 10 spots are gone, they're gone. So go to kfmretreat.com and join me now. This is your time. I'd love to serve you in building and creating a bigger life. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, cool. And so, one thing I've kind of catching on with you is like, even just from a young age, is like you find something and it kind of gives you this sense of purpose. It's like this sense of like, you know what, this is what I'm doing, and you're committing, you're going all in, and whether it works out or not, like, you know, you're okay with that. It's a part of the process. And right now you seem very purposeful, like you're a man on a mission. Now, what advice would you give to someone who doesn't have that, who is kind of still searching for that thing? And they're just, you know, consuming a lot of content, and they're looking at really trying to find something to do, finding their purpose. Like, what advice do you have for that man?
Be in that place. What did we start this show with? Got to be happy about nothing. Nobody really knows. A lot of people are just making it up as they go. And looking at everything that I've done, it's all these different things that I've done. Other people might not see how they connect, but I'm going to stop worrying about what other people think. Connect with people in person, get out of your house, get out of your head, and follow your heart to whatever it is, even if it's just having coffee with a stranger and asking them what they're doing, what's their passion, what are they building, and play more.
All right, good. And what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
You know, this is the latest and greatest thing that I'm working on is caring less about what other people think. You did a show with Dane Maxwell, and he's like, yeah, all you have to do is care. But you have to care about you and what you're doing and how it's helping you be the best you can be before you can worry about all that other stuff.
Yeah. Good point. And bringing that back from the couple, I think like 2 episodes or 3 episodes ago. Now, looking at your journey, you've done a lot of different things, and I can see that your resume here quite all over, but so many experiences gained from that. And I'm wondering, on this journey, have you had a mentor who's kind of helped you and guided you through these ups and downs yourself? Who is that mentor?
Who are those mentors? And who aren't mentors? There's a post in my book about nature as your mentor. Never let that be a reason for being stuck. Anyone can mentor, and whoever's listening to this, or you or I, and you and I know this because we've helped out as many people as have helped us. We get just as much of it as the mentor does. And so never view it like you're taking something. It's a relationship, a friendship. It could be anything. It could be a paid coach. It could be your elderly neighbor that just would love to have tea with you. I guarantee you're going to learn something if you set out to learn. And that's my absolute favorite thing to do, is to see what I can learn and how I can learn it.
Yeah, I like that. And thanks for clarifying on a mentor can be. I mean, I say Arnold Schwarzenegger is my mentor, but I've never met him, but I read his books and follow all his stuff. The beach is my mentor. I'm probably going to go walk on the beach right now.
Totally.
After this call, just like get up and go.
I might have to do the same. I don't have beach here, but inland lake is just as good, and splashing your feet around. I mean, and that works. But connecting in person with someone who's doing, a version of what you want to do, maybe 10 years out, that can be the absolute best person. Yeah,
can save you a lot of time, save you a lot of money.
Exactly. Connect with those people in person. That 5 people you surround yourself with. That's so true. Connect with the best people but start with being your best self so that you can. And then you'll level up. That's kind of where I'm at right now too. It's like the mentors that got me to where I'm at aren't the same ones that are going to get me to where I'm going. That doesn't mean that, they're that's not something on them. That's just saying that like we're all on our path, and get the mentor you need, get the help you need, and work on it.
Yeah. Really good stuff. And having, you're an avid writer. What are your 2 or 3 most influential books, and why?
Sure. So one I've been working through that's helped me a ton right now, it's on my nightstand right now. It's called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by Dr. David Hawkins. Brilliant brilliant man on really connecting with that spirituality factor, because it's the mind, body, spirit alignment that's going to help. You can work on training your brain, going to college, getting your mentor, thinking your way through it, but then you're going to still have to do those workouts and take care of your body, what you eat, what you do, everything else. And then spirit too, because if you don't align with however you want to define your relationship with the universe, to be your best self, that's what you got to do. One of my other favorite books is called Phenomenology and the Return to Everyday. It's this super obscure book called The Things Themselves. That's actually the subtitle, but you're going to find it a lot easier by Googling Phenomenology and the Return to Everyday. And what they do is they take these crazy examples like Jesus's abs, or how people experience Las Vegas or Disney, and they think that things that are real aren't real, and things that are real, or vice versa. It's just eye-opening to see something like that. And one of my other favorite books, this is like a great little reference one to flip through. And in fact, I think that's the coolest thing about how I built my book too. Any book that you get on the shelf that a friend gives to you, that you see anywhere, you can flip it open to any page and kind of get exactly what you need in that moment. So staring at my bookshelf, The Way of the Superior Man is popping off the shelf. So I got to drop that one, but I'm sure you guys have heard that one before. But so I'll give you an absolute wild card one. It's called The Book of Symbols. It's like as thick as a dictionary, but it has an art image and then like an elaborate story that you might have to have your dictionary out to get some of the words that are in there. But that's the level of depth, not like art history kind of thing. It's just like, take a symbol, anything from a color to an animal to something you dreamed about last night. So you talked about walking the beach. So you flip to that and it says the beach, and it says the historical significance, the literal significance, the secret significance, and something it's just a way to learn something about anything. And a lot of times that can get you unstuck.
Wow, that sounds like a really interesting book that you can kind of get lost in. Well, can you repeat the title of that book? Sure.
It is The Book of Symbols. It's got a big hand on the cover. You can't miss it. Right. It's a reference title. It's not something you would ever read cover to cover, but it's the coolest thing ever. I find, I got it from the library a couple times. I only keep books that like really speak to me on my bookshelf. I'm a little bit of a minimalist sometimes, but that's one that I just think is one of my favorite books.
Yeah, got it. I'll have to check that one out. And now this next question is more of a scenario. So it's, imagine if you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
You don't have to go so fast. I've always wanted more, and I've always wanted it faster. But I realized that doing that isn't necessary. Just do everything you do with great love. Give it your best shot. And if it's the simplest, dullest, whatever task, just fully lean into it. I mean, preferably if you can, pay someone or find a way to collaborate with someone that really gets excited about the stuff that you don't get excited about. Those kinds of collaborations and partnerships are key. But just be happy in the moment. Be happy about nothing. And be who you are. And when you light up with that energy and passion, and even on your down days, you will still inspire.
Yeah, really good, really good. And now that's going to conclude the knowledge round there, Jimmy. So let's just go into what's exciting you today. Like, what's really getting you moving in the morning?
Well, what's getting me moving tomorrow is getting on a plane to go to Burning Man, which is absolutely wild. And it's a little bit scary too.
Just in case not everyone's familiar with it, give us just a quick elevator pitch of what's Burning Man like. What is it?
Sure. So I mean, it's a desert arts festival in Nevada that has something for everyone. So whether you want to create art, whether you want to, openly connect, whether you want to go to a TED Talk talk, whether you want to go to a sex positive workshop on spirituality. There is literally something for everyone. There are drugs, party, music, anything. But I've never really been about so much of like that, so much as to fully experiencing something. So I know that the question you were probably asking is more about like the day-to-day routine stuff. And so one of my latest challenges is just to get up at the same time every day and do the most important thing on my list. And that really, that really locks things down, because you begin, being your best.
Yeah. Good. And thanks for the pitch on Burning Man. Yeah, I've wanted to check that one out for quite some time now. You just talking about it's kind of getting me moving in that direction for next year. But this has been good. And Jimmy, share with the audience like how they can follow up with your upcoming book or the book that's kind of in the works.
Sure. Just Google Jimmy Tomczak. Anything you want to know about me that we haven't covered here is all on the internets. And I'm happy to connect with anyone, whether that's via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or email. My website is jimmytomczak.com. You can find the book at lakesideandtide.com. That's lakeside and tide, like the rolling ocean waves. And we have a Kickstarter happening right now. It's to print the hardcover version. I'm not gonna mess around with printing a book unless it's going to be art that you want out on your coffee table, not on your bookshelf, because that's the kind of, if you're going to cut down a tree and go through that whole process, you better make it count, and I'm going to make it count.
I like that. That's good. All right, guys, jimmytomczak.com. And Jimmy, it's been a pleasure having you here on my show and sharing your lessons here with my community.
Absolutely. Anything that I can do to help you or anyone, reach out, guys. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people that did the same. So thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.